They call him Seatin, the man of legends.
Hey guys, what is up? It is Seatin here, and welcome to the 61 Bladedancer 11 Rift Stalker and 4 Tactician guide. Now this is a guide for rogue soloing, and I believe it is currently one of the best specs for soloing content on a rogue, and it's kind of rivaled with, I believe it's 51 Nightblade, 21 Rift Stalker and 4 Tactician, which I will cover shortly in another video. So the way that this build works, I'm just going to talk about where all the self-healing comes from. So there are very sort of lots of small bits of self-healing that come from a variety of different sources. Now the first bit of self-healing is from Curative Engine. Now this means whenever you're hit it restores 432 health, but I believe that has a 2-second cooldown which isn't mentioned. So every 2 seconds when you're hit you'll get restored 432 health. Now going on from that, you also have defensive pose, which you want to keep up when you're AoEing, but when you're doing single target damage and taking off on stuff 1v1, it can be a bit energy starving, so sometimes it's a good idea to toggle it off, and you can quickly and very easily do that just by clicking on it. It doesn't consume any global cooldown, so if you're finding yourself energy starved, you can toggle that on and off. Now the third source is whenever you kill a mob, it doesn't matter regardless of whether on it grants XP or it's low level, you're going to get a heal which will heal you for 150% of your attack power over 10 seconds. So just having a look at my stats, that is about 6k over 10 seconds, which is alright. And finally you have Meditative Trance, which will heal you as a finisher, which will heal you over 12 seconds based on combo points, and that's alright, but it's not terribly good. So there are lots of small bits of healing here and there. Now, one of the main things I'd suggest, if you are thinking of soloing on a rogue and you do want to do this stuff, definitely invest points in Vampiric Essence, which is the second tier of Attunement of Death, and it's right in the bottom in the left, because that is just like a massive boost to any soloing spec, and a lot of soloing specs it is completely essential to have for a rogue if you do want to do these large pulls and stay alive during. So anyways, on to how the spec is actually played. So you have a variety of dances. You have a total of 6, and they all give different buffs essentially. So you have Fated Blades, which is your most powerful one to use for single target or AoE, and then you have Blade and Soul Parity, which is the second most powerful one to use for single target or AoE, and then you have Blade Tempo, which is the third most powerful one to use for AoE, and the other two, Dualism and Double Coup, are specifically single target ones, and they're on about the same sort of effectiveness as each other, and they are both better on single target only than Blade Tempo, so they're better than Blade Tempo if you're just doing single target. So just going let's pull some mobs and really get down to business on this and show you how it's played. So basically you want to round up usually as many mobs as you can find. This spec you do kind of want to play it a bit safe and then pop Fated Blades, and then you want to use 100 Blades first as that's slightly more powerful, and then go into a Dancing Steel. Now in lower geared specs you may not want to pull sort of so much, as it does rely on you bursting these targets down pretty damn fast in order to sort of keep up and stay alive, because most of your healing does come from boosted recovery, which you only get when you kill mobs. Or you can sort of employ a method where you kill a mob and then you pull, say you pull a pack and get a few mobs down low, and then you just pull another pack and then you sort of keep going on from there. So that's also a fairly effective way to deal with pulling large groups of trash. So this spec is a bit risky in terms of pulling big groups when you can't get a very quick kill on stuff, but it's still perfectly doable. So as you can see, I've got kind of a builder macro and also a finisher macro at the moment. You can sort of min-max and use quick strike, but as well, and sort of incorporate that into your rotation, but I'm fairly lazy and I just like one builder and one finisher macro to use, and it is a really straightforward way of playing, and there's not really much need to go on to min-max Bladedancer in sort of a solo context. It's all about sort of making sure you're aware of everything and staying alive. So basically the abilities that my single target builder has in initially has binary strike, which is the best builder, and then it goes on to have I believe it's precision strike, and also I don't macro reprisal. I know a lot of you might comment on that. That's because whenever you use a finisher, you gain something called Deadly Dance, which makes sure the next 3 combo point generating abilities deal 15% more damage per combo point. So whenever you use a finisher, the next 3 abilities in your spam macro will deal 75% more damage. Now reprisal, while it is off global cooldown and free, hits a lot less for the ability in comparison to the abilities in your builder macro. So if that does consume a stack of improved Deadly Dance, then what's going to happen is that's going to result in an overall DPS loss. So generally speaking, it's better to leave it out. However, I do leave it on a separate key, and if I was min-maxing, I'd keep it, I'd use it whenever it was off cooldown and I didn't have stacks of Deadly Dance. So basically, I tried to combine it with whenever I was using a finisher. Well, just before using the finisher, sorry. So yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of the specs, guys. You do just really need to keep on top of your game, alternating the dances that you have when they're off cooldown. I'll put sort of a priority list for the dances in the comments below, so you can have a bit of a look and see which ones are best, just so you can have them for future reference and whatnot. But yeah, Bladedancer, it does take a bit of getting used to sort of rotating all these dances, but when you can really get into the spec, it's extremely good and pretty damn fun to play. If you read a guide written by Muspel's actually done a lot of work on Bladedancer, and he's extremely knowledgeable about the spec and how to sort of go about min-maxing your dances, etc., which is something for, more of you in-depth players who like theory crafting and whatnot might want to use. So yeah, I'll give a link to Muspel's guide so you can read about the further priority list on the dances, what abilities to use when, and also I believe Muspel has an entire section on cruel alerts for those of you who use cruel alert to sort of track the various dances, which is suggested because I'm not optimally playing this spec by not tracking the dances with an add-on. I'm just relying on sort of looking at the small buff bar in the top right hand of my screen. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the Bladedancer guide. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this guide and learned a thing or two about the spec. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I will see what I can do for yourself. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for watching and enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.